It's starting to look like part of the idea behind these Kuva weapons was to take old existing models and breathe new life into them. And you know what? I think they have done exactly that. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're going to be diving deeper into the Kuva Seer. Now, this secondary weapon has almost nothing in common with the regular version of the Seer. It's improved in every single aspect. And today, I got a couple of builds laid out for you. Of course, something cheap, something affordable, something that most players should be able to build. But of course, we also have the quote-unquote endgame setup with a Riven. That said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides usually take a new player friendly approach, simply because I want to explain a lot of the aspects that go into the functionality of these weapons, just to make sure that everybody understands exactly how to build a weapon and how it actually functions. So if you're a veteran and you already know most of this stuff, please bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Kuva Seer. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, and for that, just a couple of free shots. Now the Kuva Seer has different functionality from the standard version of the Seer, because this one fires explosive projectiles. Upon contact, they detonate in a 1.9 meter radius, and the damage is corrosive by default, not counting of course the progenitor that you're going to be choosing for your weapon, or better said, try to obtain this weapon with a specific progenitor. This is a projectile based attack, and when we're dealing with projectile based attacks, we gotta take into account the projectile flight speed. So take a look at this. It would be roughly 60-70 meters till the target, and the projectile flight speed is more than decent from my point of view. It's manageable, and you can also increase that flight speed with a Excellus mod slot, so don't worry about it too much. That said, the fire rate on the weapon is pretty decent, I want to say, for a semi-automatic weapon. This would be full fire rate, but the biggest problem the weapon has is ammo. As you can see, I'm almost completely out of ammo. The reserves are only 27. A magazine of 9 is totally fine, but unfortunately that ammo reserve is a bit on the low side, so you might have to use something like ammo mutation on your weapon Excellus mod slot. You might have to use something like ammo pads or even carrier, so bear that one in mind. Now with that out of the way, let's jump into a stat comparison between the Kuva Seer and the regular version of the Seer. It's not even funny. I mean, honestly, it's a straight upgrade across the board. Same accuracy, but more critical chance. Over 4 times the amount of critical chance, a better critical multiplier, better fire rate, noise alarming still, faster reload, a lot more status chance, 33% up from 13%. And when it comes to the damage, bear in mind that what you're seeing right here on the screen is the standard version of the Kuva Seer. Over all of this damage, you're going to be getting yourself the bonus elemental damage from your progenitor, depending on how lucky you were with your roll. Now let's jump into the stats of the weapon, and I was a bit lucky with this one. Actually, I was a lot lucky. This is a 55 or 56% electricity roll. It's a trade from one of my clan mates. Thank you so much, buddy, for helping me with this one. Now you see that the electricity applies not only to the projectile physically hitting the target, but also to the radial attack. You see the range right here, 1.9 meters. And keep in mind that when you have weapons such as this, you have 2 sources of damage, and therefore 2 potential sources of applying a status effect to your target. First, the projectile physically hitting the target, and second, the projectile exploding, the actual explosion and all whatnot. Now when it comes to mod capacity, this might seem a little weird to you. 80 out of 80. This one acts like the paracesis. All the Kuva weapons do, but if you don't know what that means, every time you plug in a forma into it, you're gonna get 2 additional levels for the weapon, up to level 40. 40 will be maximum, and when you take into account the Orokin Catalyst, which will be doubling your mod capacity, it goes to 80 out of 80. The Orokin Catalyst can be obtained from Nightwave. You can get it from the Daily Sortie blueprint, that is. Sometimes it appears on alerts and invasions, and you can also pay 20 plat to have one installed. Now my weapon has been formatted 5 times because I want to get all the mastery points, and if you want to get all the mastery points out of any Kuva weapon, again not regular weapon, just the Kuva weapons, you're gonna need 5 formats so you can get them to level 40. So bear that one in mind. The Excellus mod slot on this weapon again is entirely optional and up to you. It's not necessary, you don't need to pay 20 plat for this one, you can make the adapter and you get the blueprint from the new Requiem relics. And with that out of the way, let's jump into a standard build. And we got damage with Hornet Strike, multi-shot with Barrel Diffusion, as well as Lethal Torrent, critical chance, critical damage combo between Pistol Gambit and Target Cracker. These 5 mods are mandatory. But of course, if you got Prime mods, go straight for your Prime mods. Now, not everybody has Prime mods, and this would be the new player-friendly build. Nothing on this build will be expensive. We got the Corrosive Elemental combo between Pistol Pestilence, the 60/60 Toxin mod, and Convulsion, the 90% Electricity mod. Now ideally, what you would want to use in the last one, when you're shooting Corrupted Heavy Gunners or anything of the sort, you would want to go for Jolt. The problem with Jolt is that it's only brought by Battle Kit tier. No, it cannot be farmed from the game currently, and Battle brings this one every 2 months or so, something like that. So on the trade chat, at least on PC, it can get upwards to 100 plat. Crazy high amounts for this one. Now the Weapon Excellence mod slot, again, it's optional. I go for Steady Hands because I feel I get a lot more real world DPS when I actually hit my targets, and I'm not the best guy at aiming, so there you go. Another option on this one, targeting subsystems, no point on this one. Lethal Momentum, 40% projectile flight speed. Now this would help you if you're just not into projectile based weapons. If you don't like the travel time, this will help you quite a lot. Now here's what not to do with the weapon, I guess that's also important. Seeker, do not use punch through on this weapon, and let me show you exactly what I mean. You know that we're supposed to get a projectile explosion upon contact, right? Well, what is it? It will be going through your targets and never exploding. That's the problem with punch through on projectile based weapons, so please bear that one in mind. It doesn't apply only to the Kuva Seer, it applies to a lot of projectile based explosion weapons such as... oh yeah, the Ogress. And in the last mod slot, what we can go for is something like Magnum Force. I know you guys want to go for a bit more damage. Yes, please, more damage. But the problem with this one, look, you see that? And again, the explosion portion of the projectile doesn't do that much damage, so you're okay with missing the projectile hitting the target. So again, bear that one in mind. You can go for Magnum Force if you want to use this one as a shotgun. Rest assured, there is no self-damage with the Kuva Seer, so you can if you really want to. My suggestion would be to try a little bit of heat. Check this one out, it scorched 60% heat and 60% status chance, and heat right now, my friends, is no longer a garbage elemental combo. Not that it was completely garbage, but let's put it another way, it wasn't very useful either. Right now, Scorch will be reducing the target's armor, maximum armor, to 50% for the duration of the heat proc, kind of like Viral does for health, if you get how that one works. Now, this one also stacks up to deal a lot more damage, but by the time it stacks up, your target should already be dead. So the damage this one deals is a little bit negligible from my point of view, especially when it comes to not level 300, 400 targets. So, there you go. Now we're going to be testing the weapon. Again, nothing on the build is expensive, new player friendly, or as new player friendly as it gets. Again, this is like Mastery Rank 13 or something. You should have these mods. Level 120 Corrupted Heavy Goons, and initially I'm going to be going shot by shot just so you can see exactly what's going on. So again, my AoEs are actually affecting this target right here because I got 1.9 meters, and that was 4 shots to kill a level 120 Corrupted Heavy Gunner. And my friends, the Seer was not capable of doing anything of the sort. And as you can see, the weapon can absolutely shred high level targets. The issue again, the ammo is a little bit on the pesky side because you don't really have that high of a reserve. Again, you can use an ammo mutation on the weapon directly, you can use ammo pads, or you can use carrier with the ammo case to solve this issue. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to actually limit the weapon like this, because while the weapon is powerful, even with a standard build, it's not that powerful. So there you go. Now there's still one more thing which I want to discuss with you guys. Slash builds when it comes to the Kuva Seer. Now what you can do is go for Maim. I know you guys love this one, right? Maim, yay! Slash is first on the proc priority. But unfortunately, my friends, even with Maim, it's really close to Puncture. They're gonna compete for procs. It's not a good idea. Now if you guys get a Riven with minus Puncture, then we can talk about it. But until then, new, not really. When it comes to Rivens, I got this one. Actually, I got a cool story behind this Riven. This was a loaner from a friend of mine, a clanmate, that quit Warframe. Yeah, he loaned me a couple of Rivens and they was like, you know what, just keep them, dude. I'm done with Warframe, I'm so bored. And this happened like this summer or something like that. So we got damage multi-shot toxin and minus damage to Grenadier. And this was an ideal Riven for the standard version of the Seer. When it comes to the Kuva Seer, keep in mind that your Riven disposition is no longer 5 out of 5. It's 3 out of 5. That's because the Kuva weapons have this brand new system that he's working on. Each and every single weapon will have individual Riven disposition, which means what exactly? Well, your Bratton Prime will have, let's say, a Riven disposition of 3 out of 5, but then your MK1 Bratton will have 5 out of 5 because nobody really plays with it. Okay, so you can still use the same Riven on multiple Brattons, but it will take on different values. It won't change the type of the value, so if you got damage toxin on your Riven, you will have something like 200 on your MK1 Bratton, and when you put it on your Bratton Prime, it will have something like 150 because of the lower Riven disposition. Did I make that too complicated? I'm really sorry. But anyway, back to the Kuva Seer. Critical chance and critical damage with Prime Target Cracker and Prime Pistol Gambit. Of course, this time we're going to be using the Prime mods. And I switched over to the 90 mods because I got more than enough shot status chance. It's not true status chance. You do not need true status chance on a weapon such as this one. This is not a pellet-based weapon. It's not a shoot gun, so bear that one in mind. Now, Riven disposition of 3 out of 5, my friends, with the right roll can still make one hell of a difference. And take a look at this. How many shots? Come on. Come on, how many shots? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. Now these guys I can kill a bit easier. These girls, my bad, a lot easier simply because they got a couple of status procs onto them from the AoE. But as you can see, my friends, this is a Seer. And take a look what a Seer is capable of doing to level 120 corrupted heavy gunners. No Warframe buffs. No Warframe buffs at all. This is just beautiful. Now, Seer Rivens are not as cheap as they once were. I mean, you couldn't even find Seer Rivens on the market simply because they were too trash to sell. I'm sorry, but nowadays they go for like 100 to 200 plat, something like that. At least last time I checked. Go for one. Definitely. I always thought that the Seer looked really amazing as a weapon. Grenier tech and all whatnot. Cobbled together, falling apart. But it was so weak, it wasn't really worth using, but nowadays, my friends, the Kuva Seer makes up for that in spades. And you know, there's still one more thing which we gotta do, bump up everything with Warframe buffs. And for that, we're gonna be using the ever so lovely Lady Mirage Prime. Now let's hop into the buffs and all whatnot. Pistol Amp, 27% extra damage to pistols. The type of buff this one generates is the same thing as Hornet Strike for the most part. It kind of works the same way, so it's not really worth it. No, if you guys want to go for your Energy Siphon, for your Corrosive Projection, especially against Grenier, Corrosive Projection is the way to go. Go for whatever aura you want. But if you really must have this one, you can amplify that 27% with Coaction Drift. There you go. You can go for something like this, 15% aura strength and 15% aura effectiveness. This 27% will go to 41% or something like that. You can find this info on the wiki with exact percentages, so don't take my word for it. 30% critical chance bonus additive after stacking on top of what I already have. Now, the beauty of this arcane is that it doesn't care about the base critical chance of my weapon. It could be nothing. Okay, it would still give me 30%. It applies to my primary, to my secondary, to my melee. Mwah, absolutely beautiful arcane. And it can double stack. Wanna see it? Link the cards right now. Full tutorial and all that good stuff. This time, we're not gonna go for precision. This time, we're gonna go for 2 Arcane Avengers because I want my guaranteed critical chance. I got 60% from these two when they're up. Okay, when they're up. And the weapon has another 60, so 120. It's orange crit territory, baby. Now, we're gonna be unpausing the AI so they can hit me and I can get my buffs. As you saw before, the Kuva Seer was absolutely nuking these targets. And it can do so even better when we're dealing with Warframe buffs. One shot, of course. Of course it's gonna be one shot. And you take a look at the orange crits, by the way. For all the non-believers with the double stacking, orange crits would have not been possible without double stacking that Arcane Avenger there. My friends, the Kuva Seer is a huge, humongous improvement over the regular version of the Seer, which was more of a meme weapon rather than anything else. Veterans would play with a weapon simply because, well, let's see what we can do with the Seer. And it also looks kinda cool. Am I the only one who thinks it looks kind of cool? Anyway, I think it looks really cool. I'm glad to see this version of the weapon. It is definitely worth building. It can even give the Tomb Finger a run for its money. And it's got a higher Riven disposition, so bear that one in mind. Now, let's not misunderstand. It's not one of the best secondary weapons in the game. No, it's not. But it's definitely something you should have in your arsenal, and it's definitely worth using. If you got a Riven for this one, you can make it into an absolute monster. You got a little bit of AoE, you got a bit of critical chance, you got a lot of status chance, and at the end of the day, you got a whole lot of damage out of this beautiful weapon. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you got any sorts of feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below. Oh, also in the comment section down below, if you guys want to suggest any particular type of content. For example, I would like to see this weapon being made into a build guide, review, whatever. Or how about a versus this versus that? You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. But until next time, my friends, bye bye.